So Cardi, I'm Charlie,
And I'm Cory.
and this week, if you couldn't tell from the intro, we are discussing our second 2005 album. This one is Mariah Carey's The Emancipation of Mimi, her comeback album, if you will. One of the biggest comebacks, definitely of the 21st century. Big comeback album. And our second time doing Mariah Carey. The first time was her first Christmas album, but she's a lot more than the Queen of Christmas, and I'm very excited to dive into a non-holiday release.
Heard that. I'll get it out right away. I am not the expert on Mariah, and I guess really my first question is, why the fall off? Why did she fall so far from the public eye? Was it just because she was doing life stuff? Was she maybe done? What was the consensus on that? Because I've found quite a few different reasons.
There are, and I would argue it's quite complex, especially after reading her memoir. I really felt like this was pretty complex what was going on, but in short, it kind of all goes back to Glitter, the 2001 movie and soundtrack. It was her big film debut, and if you clicked on this podcast, you probably have at least heard of Glitter. It was a pretty notorious flop when it comes to the box office, and numbers-wise, for Mariah Carey, the top artist of the 1990s decade, it was just seen as a huge flop. And it does seem over time it's become more clear that her ex-husband, Tommy Mottola, very powerful record executive, was going out of his way to harm her towards the end of her time at Sony Music. First of all, he was not promoting her work like he did before, and there was a bit of a fall off with those albums. Like, there were songs that were to be released that weren't released. There's all kinds of stuff with that. But he also found another female singer to use against Mariah Carey, that being Jennifer Lopez.
Heard.
And there's a lot of back and forth on that, and yeah, that's why Mariah Carey doesn't know her. It's Tommy Mottola's fault, and that's a story to get into another time. If you do want to hear about it, I just recommend The Meaning of Mariah Carey book. That was definitely one of the most interesting musician memoirs that I ever read, because there's a lot more to the story than you ever would have put together, and it actually helps you look at this album differently. But she was correct to point, like Glitter still sold 3 million copies worldwide. It's like, yeah, that's not a small number. It's just that it was Mariah Carey and she sold more before.
Yeah. But the comeback is here.
Yes, Emancipation of Mimi. So after Glitter, her contract that she signed with Virgin Records was terminated, and she went to Island Def Jam, and her first album with them came out in 2002, Charm Bracelet. That it didn't have any major hits. It still sold okay because it was Mariah Carey, but it just was not as well received as her previous works, and she was still looking for that big thing to do next. And this album is the Emancipation of Mimi because she's seen herself as emancipated, free from all of the stuff. Like, she is escaping from the drama, basically, of the past 8 years by that point, if we're really going back to her divorce from Tommy Mottola. And she used the nickname Mimi in the title because that was more personal. She wanted to declare and show another side of herself.
Which I think is perfect. We've seen artists do it before. I even saw, doing research, parallels drawn to Janet Jackson and this taking a different moniker. And I think in my opinion, it automatically reinforces the emancipation, or reinforces the reinvention of yourself, the comebackness of it, if you will.
Yes, and it was L.A. Reid's idea to use the Mimi nickname because this new album showed a more personal side of her, and the whole emancipation of Mariah Carey she thought would be obnoxious, which I agree. That would have actually been kind of obnoxious. So it's a perfect title, but yes, there was a bit of a difference there because Janet Jackson put out Demita Joe the previous year, which was her middle name, and that album underperformed mostly due to a wardrobe malfunction, of course, but that's, yeah, the different discussion. But really, if this album was modeled after any album, as we'll see, it was actually the biggest album of 2004, Usher's Confessions.
Heard.
Because this was not Mariah Carey's first time working with Jermaine Dupri, but he's more prevalent here than he had been in her work before, and he was on another level of prominence thanks to the success of Confessions.
Ooh, I'm gonna ask this question. I hope I'm not getting too far ahead of us, but talking about Jermaine Dupri and working with him again, do you, in your opinion, is the amount of talent slash production here solidifying the emancipation? Are we letting this many people in the studio because we are free and we can do what we want, or is it the flip side and this is we're going to put everybody on the label, all hands on deck to make sure this thing doesn't flop?
I think it's more so the former. I definitely
Heard.
think there were commercial considerations made, of course, but that's the Mariah Carey way, frankly.
Heard.
And the fact of the matter is, I do feel that these people were genuinely there to do this new concept of sorts for her. And it really still does sound like a Mariah Carey album. It's just, we're definitely hearing a different side of her in these songs, but not in a way that would be alienating to the people who bought her records in the 90s.
Heard.
And really, Mariah Carey wanted to be a hip hop artist. She discussed this a lot. Like, she loved hip hop and really wanted to put it in her music, but being at Sony, Tommy Mottola didn't want her to do hip hop. He didn't want her to work with rappers. That was part of her actual vision. She wanted to do that. So that's a part of why I think this is still the emancipation, because that's what she wanted to do.
Heard. I'm with you. I was curious to see where you stand. I agree with the fact that I really think this is just everybody together having a good time and celebrating this emancipation. That's what it comes off as to me.
Yes, and it was an emancipation that did very, very well for her. It was her biggest selling album since Daydream in 1995.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is crazy, especially in the digital era at this
Heard.
point. We're not in the streaming era, but still the digital era for that to happen. But this was released in April of 2005, got her highest first week sales ever to that point, and it ended up being the highest selling album of all of 2005, which made sense for somebody such as Mariah Carey, who's used to selling a ton of records. And just the numbers on this album are insane. Just looking at all the numbers on it. But critically, it was also well received. It was nominated for 8 Grammys and 1 Free. It was even nominated for Album of the Year. It lost to U2. Spoiler, I think she was robbed of that award because this is better than what U2 was doing by the mid 2000s.
Heard that. Hot tea take. Heard that.
Hot tea take. Well, not to everybody, but yes, it was a bit of a tough year for competition, but I do think that I think Mimi was robbed in this particular instance.
Heard.
That is my opinion on that. So, but still undoubtedly a huge success, and it set her up for a second hit-making run of sorts, because she was able to get hits off of the next 2 albums as well.
Yeah, I mean looking back, it was a springboard again for her. I remember her becoming relevant again. Um, and I wasn't, a dedicated hardcore fan, but just in pop culture, it was definitely a springboard. Um, that's why I always the Tommy Mottola stuff makes sense, and I just always wondered, was it sabotage that kept her out of the limelight for so long, and it just seems like it was, and it's good to see someone overcome that, even though she's always struggled with her image, in my opinion, as far as staying consistent. But one thing that has never changed is that beautiful voice.
No, not at all. It's on full display here. We're going to have a lot of that here. And for me, this was the first time I heard of Mariah Carey. I mean, I didn't really know all of the songs immediately because, no, they were not playing this on Radio Disney. That wasn't the audience for it.
I
Eventually, I heard some of the songs during the era, but she was relevant again. I mean, I can vaguely recall seeing a billboard for this album and Mariah Carey. And I thought it was pronounced Maria with an H, and it's not. But like, this was the first time I'd heard of her and knew she was like this singer of sorts. And it's like, okay. I mean, but I didn't know all the backstory of the 90s stuff, and I didn't hear the full album till I was in high school, but I've loved it ever since then, and I think it's a pretty big high point for her. And critics agree with that. This is her one entry on the Rolling Stone 500 Greatest Albums of All Time list.
Heard. That makes sense.
Yeah, and especially for it's got such a good narrative to it too, but gotta make sure these songs stack up. And with that being said, I'm ready to dive right into this bad boy.
Let's do it.
So the album begins with It's Like That. This samples Run DMC's Hollis Crew. Lead single for the album. I didn't even know that for a long time, but it was the lead single in the early 2005, and it's a party anthem. And kind of shocking lyrics for Mariah Carey at the time to say purple taking me higher. Got references to alcohol, like that would not have been expected of one Mariah Carey before this song. And honestly, I do feel like this sets up the album very well. I think it's a really strong opening track, and it shows a new side to her, but it sounds very contemporary for 2005. I think this is just fits right in with the sound of the time, but it's not off-putting for a Mariah Carey song. And it was a commercial success. It made it to number 16 on the Hot 100, so it was her first top 20 hit as a lead artist since 2001. So that was a big step up immediately for this comeback, and that was good enough at the time. It was about to get even bigger, and it was nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance at the Grammys, and it lost the Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson, which I'm not going to get mad at that one, because, like, yeah, this is going to lose to any song. That's an very acceptable one to lose to a Grammy to. But yeah, I love this song. I think this is a real great 2000s club dance track.
I really do enjoy this song on a few levels. One, I am 100% with you on that. It sets up this album. It's a good feel, and she is prominent and well balanced against this sound. We do get a new direction, especially in her lyrics here, as a little bit more of an edge, and I dig that. I'll say her vocals 85 times. I feel like that's doesn't even need to be said. That's my critical take. For me, Jermaine Dupri, come on, man. Sometimes he strikes me as a very one note producer. This beat here is a played out bullshit beat from back in the day for me, nostalgia wise. This is me looking back. I'm not trying to take anything away from Mariah musically here. I'm just never one for a phoned in background beat here with with Jermaine Dupri and Fat Man Scoop doing a shit take on Baltimore hip hop. So that when I hear that boom 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 boom, like, come on, man, with a simple. I told myself I wasn't going to beat this song up, so let me stop there. I enjoy what it is, but like sitting back, it's just never been for me as far as the musical composition behind Mariah. I dig what she's doing. I even put aside the parallels drawn to like a Destiny Child sound here and a real syncopated rhythm as far as her vocals go, because she produces them in spectacular fashion. It's just, as far as a full composition, it falls a little flat. It definitely does its job, and it sets. And I guess really for me, it becomes dated. So I try to, that's why I gave my critical opinion as a first time listener, and then this opinion here, because as timeless of a voice as she has, I feel like for a first time listener, it's like that is a very dated composition. I hope I didn't scathe this song, because that wasn't my.
I do hear where you're coming from. I don't think that Dupri is the most innovative producer. I don't think he's the best producer on this album, period, even
Hell
though he
no.
does the most songs on it.
Heard.
But I will give him credit for this. I do think that he did much better work with Mariah Carey than he did with Janet Jackson. You want some played out Dupri beats. Listen to his work with Janet Jackson.
100% agreed. 100%
that ain't
agreed.
It at all.
And it's wild to me, we talked about the party atmosphere, or like everybody hands on having fun here, but this is another a hindsight one, but you've got producers on here that put Dupri to shame. And I understand the power, I won't use the word power. I understand his influence in the business, and yes, she was on his label, but you've got talent. In hindsight, a lot of the talent here is young, and not necessarily full foothold in the door of the industry yet. But I'm trying to dance around these names because we'll come up to them. But there's a lot of talent on here that I think could have elevated this a little bit more than Dupri.
This particular song we're talking about, yes.
Yeah.
Particularly that. But we've got a couple more Dupri songs to get through before we get to those other names, as exciting as they are.
Heard that.
And track number 2 is "We Belong Together," a ballad from Mariah Carey, but the most hip hop one she probably released as a single to this point in time, to date. This interpolates lyrics from Bobby Womack's "If You Think You're Lonely Now" and The Deal's "Two Occasions." And this was the second single, and it broke all of the records. Number 1 song of 2005, topped the charts for 14 weeks, ended up being named Billboard's Song of the Decade. And it's definitely the big change that you'll notice is this is not as bombastic as many other Mariah Carey ballads. Like, the closest to this from the 90s would probably be "Always Be My Baby," which is also a Jermaine Dupri song. So it makes sense in that regard. But yeah, this is definitely not a Vision of Love hero kind of song. It's not what we're doing here. But I think it works very well because it melds this hip-hop sensibility that we really want to go with, along with the classic Mariah Carey ballad. And we do get some really strong vocals here. They're more restrained than you might expect from her, but when she goes for it, she really goes for it. And that was something noted very much by critics, because her vocals got some criticism on the Charm Bracelet album. It's like her voice just isn't what it was. And here she showed, actually, I can still do some stuff. I'm still the Songbird Supreme that you're talking about, and we've got this. So I'm very happy that this song was such a success for her, and it's a beloved song. I've seen 2 of her Christmas concerts, and this was performed at both of them, just because it's such an iconic Mariah Carey song that even in the Christmas concert, you still gotta do it because it's such a big part of her story. And most viral moment was Rihanna jamming to it at MSG early this
Heard.
December. I loved that.
And rightfully so, because this is a solid tune. A song of the decade is wild, but this is a very solid tune. Quintessential R&B. I'll even go as far to say, in my limited knowledge of Mariah Carey, quintessential Mariah Carey, you got Babyface on here, and you're using Bobby Womack stuff. It's full, and I love it. I love the way she handles this song, and like you were saying, like it is very not subdued but like held back, and her almost spoken lyrics here are even beautiful because they're still melodic, and then when she goes at it, she blows you away. And I think that balance is why this song is so widely acclaimed, and rightfully so. It's really well done. It's produced to a T. It comes off of the number one and is elevated, in my opinion, because it's so much more full, even though it's not in your face Dupri here. It has a body about it, and I really enjoy it, especially as a number two for this album, as far as what we're going into and the way this album is setting itself up. It 100% does its job, but such a great song.
Agreed, and it's a Grammy-winning one. It won 2 Grammys: Best R&B Song and Female R&B Vocal Performance. The gendered vocal categories don't exist at the Grammys anymore, but at this point in time, it did. And of course, it was nominated for Song and Record of the Year. I do think this song was robbed for Song of the Year. It lost that one to U2, and just looking at the list, it's like these other songs don't compare to this one. Record of the Year was a tougher category. We talked about that last week because one of the nominees there was Feel Good Inc. But they both lost to Green Day, which that was a high point for Green Day too. So it's hard to say, but I do think this at the very least was robbed for Song of the Year.
Heard that. I can see that.
In its own way, it was the Song of the Year. Chart-wise, it was. So,
yeah. Song of the Decade, that's still ringing in my ears there, but that's Billboard's right to say what they want.
Their methodology.
Yes.
Their methodology. It may be a bit flawed, but it's their methodology. And next up, we've got the next single, another Dupri composition. This is Shake It Off. Nice sassy little tune. Like, I just gotta shake it off because we're done here, basically. And you know what? I like when Mariah Carey gets a little sassy because she's very good at it. She can deliver put downs with grace, but she's gonna put you in your place, and that's one thing I really like about this song. And I'm a little sad this is no longer the first Shake It Off that people think of. They're going to think of Taylor first, but I like this one a lot better. I've always really enjoyed this song. I love the video too, actually, especially the end with the neon Mimi sign and her fur boots. Favorite video from the album, even if the two before it were part of a concept and story. I really enjoyed this video, and some of the references are a bit dated here, but this is still a very fun song and another big success. It peaked at number 2 behind We Belong Together. So
yeah, this is a great song. This is a cool song. For me, this song loses a little bit here right after We Belong Together because, especially first time listener, it sits in the same sort of key and realm. It does take it up a little bit with more of a beat here, and we get a lot more vocal variety here. I think this somewhere else on the album would have brought it up, but I love this song. It's a cool one. It really is. It's a neat jam. Hot tea take. I can't help but hear R. Kelly's Ignition in this. And it's 3 years afterwards, and it's so freaking close that it takes a little bit away from it, in my opinion. Um, that's my hot tea take on that one. I don't want to take away from the song because it's a cool one, but I'm telling you, Ignition is in here. Like, you can put Ignition over top of this, maybe remix more so, but like, it sits on it pretty close.
I can hear I can hear it too. I can
it's
hear it too.
it definitely is. It
Uh,
definitely is. But just a hot tea take. It's not like they stole Ignition here
yeah,
or anything like that.
and
Just musically, it rings there for me.
it didn't. It doesn't sound the song that it sounds like isn't a bad song
Heard,
too.
heard,
So that kind of helps it. It's like it's kind of a compliment. Despite the song's performer, it's a kind of a compliment because
heard.
yeah, great,
Especially in that day and age,
yeah,
if
it
we
makes
go,
sense for a 2000s R&B song. It
it
just
does, it
it
does.
does. But next up, we're gonna really slow it down with Mine Again. So based on the title, as you can tell, it's a bit similar in theme to We Belong Together, but a much more traditional sound. This is a like 70s soul ballad you get in its production. This is one of the it kind of reminds me of in a weird way Aretha Franklin's Daydreaming. It's like the
Heard.
kind of song I could imagine the Queen of Soul singing in 1972. Very much that kind of song. And this one was co-written and produced with James Poyser from The Roots. And that's an inspired choice right there to go with this kind of elegant throwback soul sound. And I really dig it. She does it so well. And in a less poppy way for a ballad than we would have gotten from her in the 90s. Like, this is pure soul, and I absolutely love this song. It got some criticism for being oversung, but it fits the song. Where with this arrangement, it works perfectly, and I don't it's Mariah Carey. She's going to show off her vocals, and she is you feel what she's singing here, and that's what I need from a soul song, and this is a great soul song.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oversung, I think that's nitpicking. Um, because for me, I mean, especially with Poyser there on this, someone who can not only nurture this kind of sound, but really elevate it because of his understanding and versatility inside of it. It's mesmerizing. This is Mariah Carey sitting, standing, or maybe even laying across the baby grand with Poyser playing, in my opinion, like a timeless picture of an old school songstress with just a single piano man. I know there's more backing in this than just that, but that's how this song comes across in its beauty and in its way to really embrace the classicness of what it's going for here. I love this song. This is one that I keep going back to, and it's new for me as far as a song. It's not in my catalog. It is now. It's on my playlist, but it's a beautiful song, a really beautiful song. I think maybe a hidden gem, but again, I'm not a big Mariah Carey head, so this could be something I was sleeping on that people know and enjoy and love.
So interestingly, this song was not a single, but it did stick out enough to radio programmers that it got some R&B radio rotation and charted on the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart at number 73, and that's really impressive for a non-single in the pre-streaming era because we're talking about 2005, like the and I think that says a lot about the song. It's like this isn't a single being sent to radio, but it's a really strong track, and we're going to program it. And they were absolutely right to do that. And it was also nominated for a Grammy for best traditional R&B performance. It actually lost to the Queen of Soul.
Heard. Wow.
Actually,
Heard.
but you know what? I don't think Mariah was upset about losing to the Queen of Soul. So,
Heard.
I mean, because that's who she's evoking here. Like, that's what it's all about here. But she was showing that she could do it. So, it was a non single that definitely got some of the right rotation that it deserved. But it's not one everybody knows. If you don't know it, definitely check it out.
Agreed. Agreed.
But the next song was a single. This one was the final single from the album. It's Say Something. This is Mariah Carey's second collaboration with Snoop Dogg. And this one is produced by the Neptunes, so Pharrell and Chad Hugo. And this is kind of what we were dancing around with Jermaine Dupri. I think that's what you were
I was.
dancing around, because he ain't Pharrell. But not everybody is Pharrell, and this song is proof of that. And I think this song actually is so perfect for this emancipation concept, because this might be the most overtly sexual song Mariah Carey had done to this point in time. And then you got Snoop on it too. I mean, this makes Honey sound like Child's Play. that's, that's my fault. I mean, I remember I was pretty shook when I heard Snoop say, "Follow me to the restaurant." I was like, "Whoa, okay." But you know what? It works. She's a grown woman, and they're having a dialogue. And I don't think he's the rapper she has the best chemistry with on the album. But that's kind of because it's Snoop Dogg. Admittedly, that he's going to be Snoop Dogg wherever he goes. But it's a great club track. It's a great Neptunes track. It only peaked at number 79 on the Hot 100, and that just makes me very sad, because this is one of those tunes when I go out and I hear DJs playing a 2000s pop R&B mix. I want to hear this next to songs like Yeah by Usher and Crazy in Love. This belongs with that, and that saddens me. I really wish this one was a bigger hit, because it's such a good song.
It is a good song. It is a phenomenal track. It is a great performance by Mariah Carey. Oh, hot tea take.
Okay.
Put somebody else on this, man. This ain't for Snoop. Like, as cool as he is, and as debonair, and as much as I expect him to fit here, I don't know, man. For me, it's just not the one. I think the lack of chemistry is an understatement here. Don't get me wrong, it's not terrible, and I know we're coming off the heels of Drop It Like It's Hot. So Snoop and Neptunes and Pharrell, they're doing their thing at this point, and it's almost natural for them to be in there together. And it sounds like everybody dug what they were doing here, but Snoop stuff is sort of, I don't know, it's a little bit played out for him. I love this song. I say you put another rapper on there. Whew, I can't believe I'm saying this, sorry Snoop. But you put another rapper on there, maybe even a little bit less known, or maybe even a little bit more of an edge, and I think that a little bit more of an edginess here really elevates this sexuality of the song, which is huge, and I dig it. I really do. I like this song. I'm nitpicking and hot tea taking it, but it's a good one. I can see why it didn't chart higher though, because the expectation when you put Snoop Dogg on a track is high, in my opinion. So for it to be a subpar Snoop offering here, I think really takes away from it as far as the popular opinion of it. But don't get me wrong, the song is good, and it's especially great looking at early Neptunes, looking at early Pharrell, seeing what he can do here, and saying, man, I mean, this track in 12, if you look and listen to the actual composition of the backing tracks, they're both way ahead of their time on this album compared to the Dupri stuff, compared to some of the other. I'll use the word antiquated at this point, because Pharrell is thinking in a whole new young mindset going towards the future and making his mark. His foothold wasn't here just yet the way we know him, but man, I think he would have had a monumental shift or a monumental stay on this album if he would have been featured more prominently.
I mean, it's something to think about, but it kind of makes me appreciate this song a bit more too, because
Heard.
we do, at least we do have Pharrell.
Yeah, man.
But we're going to get a song that I think is kind of a flip side to Say Something in a way. This one is Stay the Night. It samples Betcha by Golly Wow by the Stylistics. So another very classic soul style song, but it's got more of a hip hop edge because of the sample. Even it's
Heard.
sampling an old soul song, but it really isn't. And this is one of those songs that actually was a big grower for me. This was not a love at first listen song. This one revealed its charms more with repeated listens, and I think it's just that some of these songs are admittedly lyrically kind of similar. We are going to the same themes. I think that's part of why this didn't quite do it for me, but it's grown on me a lot over the years. And it's just a really well done song. Like, the sample is so well done, and the vocals are amazing, of course. And sequentially, looking at this as an album, I think this is the flip side. Like, this isn't just instant gratification. Like, Say Something. This is longing. Like, please stay the night. Like, you just feel it here, and I'm gonna let you go now.
I'm with you. You feel the angst of this whole narrative with her, with her high registered vocals, especially when they are with this hip hop mindset here. I really enjoy the production on this track too. I dig it. You know, Kanye inside of here, even coming off of Gorillaz, you get a little bit of the musical pool of what 2005 was about here in the backing track, even with the sample. I don't know if this was a grower for me because it's an earwig and it really grabbed me at first listen. I was not familiar with this song, but I dig this, man. I dig it. It has almost like a more raw 70s style run to it, as far as it just being this angst and looking for this stay the night back and forth. I think it's handled very, very correctly, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I have to say, some of these hip hop names, how things have changed for their reputations over the past 20 years when thinking about Snoop Dogg and Kanye.
Yeah.
And Nelly coming up, for that matter.
Oof.
It was a different time, folks. It was a different time.
It was.
Yes, but next up, we're back to Jermaine Dupri with Get Your Number. This was an international single, not a US one, but it does have a video. And it samples Just an Illusion by Imagination. And this song has a weird single release history to begin with. It was a standalone single in Australia in early 2006. Before that, in Europe, it was released as an A-side along with Shake It Off. So when it comes to this song's chart performance, I think you're talking more of Shake It Off's chart performance than this particular song. I'm just going to say that because I want to say quality-wise, this is not Shake It Off. But you know what? I think this is a really, really fun song. It's another one of those songs I want to hear in that 2000s DJ set. Is it as good as Say Something in terms of, like, theme concept? No, not at all. But I've always really enjoyed this song, and I don't know, she's having fun on this one. She's really letting it rip, and I love to hear that from her. Like, she truly does sound free on this song. And that's what I like to hear. And so, and Jermaine Dupri's part is adequate enough. It's there to serve a purpose. I think it works, but it, I like the song because of Mariah, mostly.
Yes. I sound like a cranky old man here. I hate. I shouldn't use the word hate. I'm just not big on the Dupri shit. And like, I dig this track 100%. I love the backing. I talked about the Gorillas on the last track, but even more so here, especially with the large amount of English songwriters and English influence here. I think it really sits again in that almost Gorillaz-esque mindset with its backing track. Having fun is an understatement from me. This is a really fun track. You can tell that everybody's down on it. It really is like an anti-nostalgia for me when I hear Dupri come in with shit like hot damn, nah, 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 like get out of here with that shit. But that is my opinion. I guess a hot tea take, maybe just scarred from oversaturated things like that. But this song is super fun, and a get down track. At number 7 too, our pacing is sitting correct here. We've gone down, we've come back up, we're dancing again, and I really think this one surprised me, but I dig it. I dig it. Put somebody else on here again. I put somebody else on here. I understand this is hindsight's 2020, and I understand where we were, who we were doing this with, and the artists that are relevant in the time. But golly gosh, come on. And I pin this because when we get down to track 12, we'll talk a little bit more about this hot damn shit that sometimes ruins these tracks for me.
Yeah, that's 2005.
I know. I've been scarred if you can't tell.
Well, the good news is that we do not have it on the next track, even though it has a rapper on it. This one is one and only, a collaboration with Twista. Not the first time we've mentioned him on here on this show, but it's produced by his main producer, the legendary Trackster, and I do think that in terms of the rappers she performs with, I think she has the best chemistry with Twista. Like I do feel there is a rapport on this song. Because like we said, Snoop Dogg's gonna be Snoop Dogg on any track he appears on.
Heard.
He's not there to have chemistry with people, I'm afraid to say. So as a duet, as a hip hop duet, I do think that this song works. I'm gonna let you go before I add my caveat.
Okay. I dig this song. This is the edge that I think you add with an artist like Twista, because it really contrasts to the beauty of Mariah's voice. This track is cool. It doesn't hold me the way a lot of this album does, but I enjoy it. I also enjoy the fact that Twista didn't really deviate from what we know him for, and that's fast, unbridled rap. Is this the Twista that you're getting on mixtapes back in the day? Maybe not as hardcore, but he's singing with Mariah Carey, or he's duetting with Mariah Carey here. So there is a little bit of a subdued, but he doesn't do it as much as Snoop did. You almost lost Snoop inside of a very slow and drawn out verse where Twista did it here, and I think that stands strong. It's not necessarily my favorite on the album, but it's a good song.
Yeah, and I think it's a smart transitional song
Heard.
for the album. That's really what I think this one serves primarily as. But my caveat is there's a part 2 of this song called So Lonely.
Hmm.
It was on the first re-release CD, the Ultra Platinum Edition. This was one of the bonus tracks, and I have to say, I just think that one's better than this one. It's produced by Darkchild. It's more up tempo, and Twista's more Twista on it, and Mariah's got to play up for him. But that one makes me want to blow up the speakers, like she sings in the lyrics of that one. So I do enjoy this song, especially for what it serves here. But I just think part two's even better.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were going to touch on that, but I'd put part two in this album over this any day. It's way more full. It's way more realized as far as a hip hop track goes.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't chosen because you get more of a Mariah sound, I guess I could say. It I don't know. Hot tea take, I think So Lonely could have been in this spot and really made an impact, but it might not have transitioned as well.
Yes, and So Lonely was also on Twista's album as well,
Oh, heard that.
actually.
Okay, heard that.
So I kind of wish it was, and it charted kind of low on R&B hip hop, but it did something because it had to get some play because that's a banger. But I wish that got a more full push as a Twista single,
Heard.
actually, because I love So Lonely. That's so much fun. But One and Only does take us into a more reflective set of songs that we have coming up. And the first of those is Circles. This one was co-written with James Big Jim Wright, who she did quite a few songs with, and in my opinion, almost all strong tracks that she did with him. It's a breakup ballad, a lot less bombastic than the ones that we've heard prior to this. So it's a restrained vocal by Mariah Carey standards, but it's beautiful and it works for this song because she's just going around in circles with this breakup. It's just like you're stuck on a loop, and that's a very real feeling. And I think this song showcases that well, along with just the classic soul sound. Again, this isn't pop ballad Mariah of 1990. This is soulful R&B Mariah Carey, and this is just another one of those songs that it just hits for me. And a funny footnote about this song is back in the day on American Idol, there was one of those bad singers they used to have started singing this song, and the judges did not know it. Both Randy Jackson and Simon Cowell had this, what song is that? And that's kind of funny considering that Randy Jackson touted how often he used to work with Mariah Carey. It's like, you don't even know one of her own songs.
Heard that.
It's a deep cut a bit, but it's a very good deep cut. You should definitely check it out. And that just was funny to me because I saw the comments like, I know the song, but they know.
I don't think this deserves to be a deep cut. This is. I'm going to put all my disdain that I've been spouting here, and I got a little bit too caught up in that. But we just watched and listened, but we just watched a girl go through some wild times, some wild love, some really in your face stuff, and with a hip hop element brought to it in the last few songs. And then we transition into Circles and get this backup singer, full on old school breakup ballad, and it hits so perfectly on this album. It I can't say enough how much this song, I will say, brought me back into the album, because there were some pieces in the hip hop where I was like, man, come on, I understand we're trying here, but like some of these aren't hitting. This one floored me. The first time I listened to this album, this floored me. I've gone back to this more than once outside of my critical listens to this album. Just her pure power here is phenomenal. Her vocal prowess, and then also really elevated by these just soft keys and backup singers. Really well done. Beautiful song and beautiful placement inside of the concept, even, inside of this Emancipation concept, but really perfectly placed inside of the pacing as well. Great job.
Yeah. I'm glad I thought you would like that song. I'm glad that you did. It's a gem. And next up, we've got Your Girl. This one was co-written with Mark Shamur, who produced this with the name Scram Jones. This one was a bit polarizing for critics because of her vocal performance. She got criticized for over-singing on this one, which I kind of see it, but at the same time, one, it's a Mariah Carey song. She has the voice; she's going to use it. And two, it actually works for this song because she's saying like, "Yes, I should be your girl," but she's going to first say it and then demand it because she's Mariah Carey, and it's a desperation that is, I think, many. If you're out there looking for love, it's very relatable when you hear this song, what she's going for here. And again, it's an emancipation track. Again, this is that kind of song. It's a short song, but I would definitely recommend this one. And it got a couple of new remixes in 2021 because I guess Mariah Carey felt that it deserved a bit of a push and some reevaluation, and I agree.
Yeah, I first heard this song and dug it, and I was like, why am I digging this so much? I mean, Mariah's voice is beautiful here, and I dig it for what it is, but there was just something about this. And then dive in and find out, that it's Scram Jones sitting back on this and really getting it done. It just has this viability to it that is almost undescribable for me. It just hit correctly. It's one of the beauties of this album, one of the double-sided, one of the double-edged swords of this album is the fact that we get to hear so many different producers, writers, and takes on what a Mariah Carey song is to them. I think that Scram really hit it out of the park here. And I didn't know that it got remixes and whatnot, and I will listen to them because I think if I have to nitpick, it's a tad unfinished, but it still is beautiful. I think the unfinished comes a little bit from coming after Circles too, because Circles was so strong that this sounds like just a little bit watered down up tempo version of what we were getting in Circles. But I really dig this song as well.
Yes, and we're going to slow it down once again with the next track, which is I Wish You Knew, another co write with James Wright of Circles, and another one that has had to grow on me a bit over time, which I know I'm in the minority of that because this one's been on a good amount of her concert set lists, considering that it wasn't a single. I mean, quite a few of these songs are being performed in her current shows, which is centered around this album, but this one's been performed multiple times before that as well. And I think it's just, again, I think in some ways it felt redundant, but now I really appreciate this song because I do think it's just a beautifully produced and sung song. I really like I think that her and this Big Jim Wright, he worked with Jam and Lewis, one of their proteges, but he produced some really beautiful ballads for her. And he's no longer with us. He passed away in 2018. I'm sad they can't do any more together. I will say that because I really tend to enjoy the songs they did after this album here, but especially the two here. I don't like this one as much as Circles, but it does what it needs to do, I think.
Yeah, Big Jim has that classic sound on both of these songs, and I dig it. Here we get like a Chicago Styles horn section, and I love that. This song sounds great, it really is. It's fully realized, well done song. I think it gets lost in the shuffle here, especially after Big Jim on Circles. With this trio of songs, it becomes a tiny bit redundant for me. That might be a hot tea take, but as far as pacing goes, this, in my opinion, almost doesn't do its job as well as it should here. Going into the next track, it's cool. It's really awesome on its own. I dig the sound. I just think, unfortunately, it was misplaced a bit on this album.
I can see where you're coming from. And like I said, it was a grower for me because just other songs I think did this better. But once soon enough you want to go back to it, you listen to the album enough times. That's kind of where I'm coming from with it. But we're back to the club with To the Floor. This one features Nelly, another Neptunes production. Kind of surprised it wasn't a single, actually, just because of that. Featuring Nelly and the Neptunes. I mean, I do think this is the weakest of the club songs on the album, even though I love the Neptunes production. Nelly makes party music. He's a party rapper. He's not going to be who you call for a great, like a fire verse or whatever. It's just, I mean, it's a fun song. It does what it needs to do. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I don't put it on the level the other dance tracks here, unfortunately. And I mean, I'm glad we have another dance song here. It does what it needs to do, but I think again that everybody to the floor thing from Nelly, I kind of what you were hinting at earlier, can put a damper on the song, even though I enjoyed Mariah and the beat.
I'm taking a deep breath because
Okay.
I feel like I've been very old man get off my lawn for this album and my nostalgia of it. Whoa, all right. Take Nelly off this track, man.
Yeah.
Come on, you're using him because it's 2005 and getting hot in here. Let's, we'll run it up and we want to get Mariah on the charts. You literally have Pharrell doing the Neptunes doing this track, and it's perfect. Let Pharrell do this track. You don't need Nelly on this track. Nelly takes away from it, and unfortunately, ooh, I'm almost yelling at this point. I'm sorry. Unfortunately for me, Nelly's one note, it's getting hot in here musicality takes away from this song. You get to the end of this song and you're basically listening to a Nelly song, and it's whack. It's all going down tonight. Like, no shit. I've heard you do that 80 million times and it still sucks, in my opinion.
No, it does. I mean, I'm going to the Oceans Calling Festival this year. Nelly's on the lineup. I have no desire to see Nelly perform live because it's just that it's all the same song. It's, you know what, it's fun for a couple tunes, but
Yeah.
it's not working here. And I'm sorry, you're with one of the, now it's really a problem when, in this case, he's with one of the greatest vocalists of all time.
Yeah. On a comeback album.
Yeah.
Why would you do for me, this was a money grab situation, and I'm talking out of my ass because I don't know. I'm making all these assumptions based upon my own opinions, but the way I look at it, you put them on here, especially this close to the end of the album. Thought you had another dance track on it. You had a bomb ass track from the Neptunes. You have freaking Mariah Carey killing it, and for me, you ruin it with Nelly on this. You just do. If Nelly's your thing, cool, but this is a Mariah Carey album. Do a Mariah Carey song, or Let It Be. There's another one, and maybe again hindsight 2020, and years have gone by, but you put another artist on this. Christ, oh man, you have Pharrell right there. You have Pharrell right there. I know you don't know this back in 2005 yet, but you have Pharrell right there.
Yeah, I don't think he was doing many vocals on songs too much yet at this point in time. I mean,
Heard.
off the top of my head, earliest I can think of him doing songs on an album is like '08. I could be very
Heard.
wrong about it, but at least on a hit album from an artist on this level. But, I'm with you on that. We don't... Nelly is the weak link on this song, and I don't think the song's a skip. I really enjoy the beat and Mariah. It's just...
Agreed.
Nelly's just not it. He's a one-note rapper. He makes fun party songs, but that's all it is. It's not deep.
See, that's why I need you there on this one, because that's a perfect way to say it without yelling like an angry old man. Nelly was the weakest link on this track, period. And unfortunately, It took away from it a bit. It is not a skip, but it's a good one.
Yes, but now we can say, Nelly, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. We are back to solo Mariah with the next track, which is Joyride, the penultimate track on the original album. Oh boy, this one was co-written and produced with Jeffrey Greer. It's another like breakup ballad. This has always been a skip for me. I mean, it's pleasant enough to listen to. Like, it's not painful to listen to, of course, but it's just a boring song. It's just boring. And for that, for me, like, I mean, if I'm gonna play the whole album, I don't feel like I must hit skip. But if I'm gonna just be on a playlist or have this on shuffle, I'm getting to the good stuff. This one, oh, they definitely could have put a better song in this place, and they had better songs they could have put in its place
Heard.
than this one. It's just a boring track and a filler to get to the good stuff.
Uh, uh, but at the penultimate, we
Yeah.
don't need filler.
No, we don't.
And I say this with all due respect to Mariah Carey. She sounds bored on this song, and it sounds. I don't know if it's the way that it's put together with the composition, or, or with the way it's produced, but it sounds so contrived and like really just drawn out. There's nothing in this song that grabs me and says, "Oh, this is cool." It's very boring, and I don't know why it's needed here. Even with the weakest link, Nelly, you brought the album back up to a club-esque place. Why would you bring us down with a boring song before you let us go? Especially the way the next one plays out. It would have really been aided by coming off a dance song like To the Floor. To finish a finale piece out. This one really takes the album, takes me out of the album, and it's way too late in the album to do that. This is a skip for me every time. Man, I hate to bash it, but this is just this is cutting room floor stuff compared to the rest of this album. Period. Not even her catalog, but the rest of her album, especially her performance in this. It's cutting room floor to me.
No, it is. There were definitely better songs from the sessions that could have gone here instead of this one. But spoiler alert, all is forgiven with the initial closing track for me. And that's what she would want with this one. It's Fly Like a Bird. We're in church now, folks. This is a gospel track. And we've gotten some gospel influence before, but never quite like, not quite on this level. We've got a choir here, and this is a very personal song for her because after reading the memoir, especially, she wrote so much about her religion and spirituality and how much it means to her. And then we talked about before, she said a big part of the reason she likes recording Christmas music so much is because she gets to express that part of herself by doing Christmas songs. But turns out she can express that part of herself when writing a song for her comeback album as well. And she didn't do it better ever than on this song. Because, yeah, this one does make you fly like a bird. This is I mean, you just gotta listen to it. And you can tell that it's meaningful to her. And that's what elevates the song. And regardless of your own spiritual beliefs, just on a musical and vocal level, you have to respect this song because you know she means what she's singing. And I dare you not to feel empowered or uplifted after listening to Fly Like a Bird. It's just such a beautiful song. And I was so glad the first Christmas show I went to of hers, I was so happy to hear this live. That was very much maybe the high point of the show for me because it wasn't the biggest hit, but she did it anyway. She does it a lot because it's a great song.
Yeah, it's great, especially here as a finale. She starts with over this driving bass line with a very subdued version of her falsetto, and then we get this fully unbridled Mariah by the end, and really just realized I'm 100% with you. You can tell it's from the heart. It is a true finale piece for this album. And I'm with you. All is forgiven. I forgot about Joyride already by the time I'm 45 seconds into this composition. I love the way she did it here, and I love the way that it finishes this album off.
No, this is definitely her best album closer, top album closer of all time for me.
Heard? Wow.
For me, I'm a
Yeah.
Mariah Carey fan.
No, I hear you.
This This is it, and it was a single. It made it to number 4 on the Bubbling Under charts, but it made it to 19 on the R&B charts, and that's about as well as you could expect a full-on gospel song to do, because that's what this is. But it's beloved in her catalog for a reason.
Yeah.
And what an epic closer. But
yeah, man,
this album got reissues. Well, in fact, the Ultra Platinum Edition, they followed the lead of Confessions, once again, which reissued towards the end of 2004. They give a push to a little song called My Boo. Ended up being a number 1 hit. And that happened again with a song here called Don't Forget About Us. It was recorded during the album sessions, but not finished. Then it was finished, and L.A. Reid said, we want this as a single, let's re-release the album, and everybody was on board for that. And it worked very well. This became Mariah Carey's 17th number 1 hit at the end of 2005. And I remember this song very well. I heard this at Skateland. This was maybe not her most well-known song today, but at the time, this was definitely a hit. And it comes from the We Belong Together playbook. That's what this is. That's what they were going for. Highlight of the song is the bridge, though, because she gets into that almost rapping style on it, and that elevates the song for me. It's like, is this the most creative song she ever did? No, but as a radio hit, this works very, very well for me. And I'm not mad that they redid We Belong Together in this particular case. Not mad they did it.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's beautiful. And very rarely do you hear me say that about Jadakiss. But, it's beautiful.
Yep. One and only time you will say that about that.
Yeah, I keep it. That was like you with Ike Turner last week. That's about as nice as I get right there.
Well, no, Ike Turner did put out beautiful music. He just wasn't a good person.
True that.
Jadakiss isn't a great artist, in your opinion.
Heard.
That's the difference.
There it is. That is true.
Because no, I do love me some Proud Mary still. Let me be clear, but he's on a remix version of the song.
Yeah, which on Hot Tea Take, I enjoy that a little bit more. But
I mean, that's what it was made for. There's also a remix with Jules Santana, who, I mean, I don't like that one as much as the Jadakiss one, but these songs were kind of made for that. He was on a We Belong Together remix too.
Heard that.
Jadakiss, and I like that one a lot, actually.
I have heard that one, and I begrudgingly say I enjoy that one as well.
Yeah. It was a hit in its own right, but the Ultra Platinum Edition, it included that remix along with So Lonely, which we talked about a bit earlier, but they have one other song, which is Making It Last All Night, What It Do. This is a Jermaine Dupri track. It samples Freakin' You by Jodeci, and this one I'm gonna be angry old man about Jermaine Dupri on this one. This song's a skip. This is a bonus track if I've ever heard one. Because it's like, I get you had a great radio hit you needed to put out, but they could have put a song other than this one. This one's not. This is a boring track. And she's on autopilot. She's just on autopilot here. I don't like it.
It's whack. It's I very, very rarely say stuff like that, but it's straight whack. It's not even a finished track in my opinion. And thank God this didn't make the original album. You know what I'm saying? Like, because this is, if you want to talk cutting room floor, this is cutting room floor. I don't care who's on it. This is whack. This is some garage band edited poop.
Yeah, it is.
So. Thank gosh, it's a bonus track at the very least. It is,
Yeah, it's this is close to this is towards the bottom of her discography for me.
Yeah,
it's such a skip.
It doesn't even finish out. It fades off. There's a running snare the whole time that doesn't need to be there. It's not good.
I agree. This one, oh, it did bring the overall. I'm not going to actually include the bonus tracks in my overall grade of the album, but I do
Heard.
think they're notable to talk about because they actually are all, at least I've got something to say about them. And the other two that are now on the new streaming Ultra Platinum edition and on the most recent vinyl reissue, which I have, they were international ones. The first one was from the UK. That one is Sprung. It was produced by Mahogany Music. Samples Do It Again by The New Birth. Very catchy tune. I will give it that. It has like a futuristic production that's very of its time. I will say that. I like that a bit better in concept than in execution. I will say, like, I think it's a little doesn't quite meld together as much as I want it to, but this still, I would have much rather had this on the album than Joyride or Making It Last All Night.
I was just about to say, you could put this on Joyride any day and it makes sense in the album.
Yep.
There is some fine tuning needed, in my opinion, here, but it after To the Floor, it might even overshadow To the Floor at that point, and maybe now I'm just throwing it out there, but I mean, Secret Love could have been on this album and fit in without a doubt, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Well, we're not at Secret Love. It means Sprung.
I mean, Sprung. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
but yeah,
I think it would have been perfect for Joyride's place on the album.
yeah, yeah,
100%.
most definitely.
And I think the next track would have been perfect for Making It Last All Night's place on the album. That is Secret Love. That's the Japan bonus track. The Sprung was the UK. And it was produced by Swizz Beatz, who was more up and coming at that point in time. Still pretty new. Now I feel like he's most known as Alicia Keys' husband. But he's a solid hip hop producer. This has a very solid hip hop beat. And is it a bit redundant lyrically? Sure, but I don't mind because she's having a good time on this one, and that's what we want to hear on an Emancipation album. So it's just a fun track, and I'm glad this one's on streaming now.
No, I agree. My question to you was Secret Love recorded in those sessions? Because it's another one where I don't think there's as much fine tuning needed as far as Sprung goes, but I feel, again, another one that could have easily fit on this album without a doubt.
Well, yeah, Sprung and Secret Love were not recorded for the reissue. They were because they were bonus tracks for the initial release in either the UK or Japan. It's the extra song exclusive to those countries, but it was all part of the initial sessions, and they both would have fit on the album better definitely better than Joyride, maybe another song or two.
Again, Secret Love in that Joyride spot could have overshadowed To the Floor as well, because even as strong as the Neptunes beat was here, or Swizz killed it on this. I enjoy both of these, Sprung and Secret Love, but I feel like they could have overshadowed, and maybe that's why they didn't make it. I'm a little bit in the wonderment of how they didn't make it to the album, because they just seem like both tracks, maybe more so Secret Love in my opinion, but both tracks just seem to fit the style and concept of this album, period, especially in the mid part of this album where we were really embracing hip-hop.
Absolutely, and it would have brought a bit more sonic variety even.
Heard.
But maybe that's why they were bonus tracks. Maybe they were a bit too different.
Or maybe Dupri was scared of those tracks being on money. There, you know, not even losing that money, but Swizz having the highest track on there, or
Right.
Again, I shouldn't say things like that without ground for my opinions, but
it's all
you
speculation.
Never know. Speculation.
It's definitely fun to wonder, and I think it's okay to wonder 20 years later about it.
Heard.
I think it's okay, but now these songs are all together, and rightfully so. So we can make all these. And soon there will be even more. There's a full 20th anniversary edition that'll be out at the end of the, well, now actually tomorrow. It'll,
Yeah.
on the day we're recording this, it'll be out. So I know quite a few of them will be the remixes for the album, which it'll be great to have all those all in one place, not to search for them all individually. But I'm curious what other tracks that might get unearthed that will be new. I'm excited,
Yeah, I
actually.
looked at the preview, and again, my knowledge isn't the best of what's new and what's unearthed, but it looked cool. I'm excited to see, especially after listening to it. I'm excited to see what they do here.
Yeah, and it's an appropriate album to be celebrating an anniversary for,
Yep.
because it was a landmark for just the industry at the time and for Mariah Carey herself. This is, I mean, she's started a Vegas residency that she's done some international shows with called The Celebration of Mimi, because this album's so important to her story. And I'm really glad we got to cover it here, Tim. I'm kind of surprised it took us as long as it did to get to this one, but I'm
Agreed.
glad we did it.
Yeah, man.
But it was a perfect time to do it. That's the good news.
It was indeed.
So now we got to get to it. I thought you might be a bit harder on this one. I know you told me you weren't always the biggest Mariah Carey fan out there.
It, I didn't find myself being hard on it for her because I love her and I love her sound. I just was never a hardcore fan. For me, a lot of, and you guys heard it and you heard it, a lot of the disdain for this album is that double-sided coin of having everybody on here and having people on here that maybe we're doing a little bit more of their own thing than celebrating this emancipation. And a few times it really took away from her and it took away from the album. I think the album was paced really well. I think her performances are, it's redundant to say how beautiful her voice is on each track. You maybe can nitpick and say some were oversung, but I don't feel that way. I feel like the places where this album had missteps, other than Joyride, were for me more based in the supporting cast and production. I enjoyed this as a whole, but for me, this one is a solid B as far as a full album goes.
And that's totally, I get why you would say that, but for me, it's an A. I'm a Mariah Carey
Heard.
fan, and there's only one straight up. Well, if we count the bonus tracks, there's two, but on the main album, there's just one straight up skip for me. I have good things to say about all of these songs for the most part, and that's what I want in an album. And I love a person with a beautiful voice, and she created a concept. And for me, it's this kind of concept that makes her special and elevates her over other big voice divas.
Heard.
For me, because you're not going to get this kind of album from Celine Dion or even Whitney Houston. No disrespect to them, both amazing voices, great songs, but they didn't write their material like Mariah did, and she ties it all together like it needs to be done and made a true album. And that's why she's a step up for me. When it, out of that vocal trinity, they call them, that's why she's the tops of it for me. I know you'd probably say Whitney's your tops, but which is fair.
I think that's a really good point and something that I never put into my my opinion of her being at the top. That's a really, really well said and good point. I and this isn't blowing smoke up your butt here. That viewpoint is a game changer for me and will influence the way I look at her material more. And I'm thank you for sharing that, because that was a really, really well said point.
Yeah, I think the voice for so many people is what people think of when it comes to Mariah Carey. It's easy people don't always acknowledge that she is a writer. And
Heard.
it's that writing that gives her material a consistency that you don't get with every artist. Um, Whether the songs are at their best or not, it's all her. That's mostly what I mean. It's all genuinely very much her,
Well,
I think.
not just for the podcast here, but I think that warrants one more listen from me on this album. That's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah, favorite track. What's your favorite track?
Circles, hands down. It floored me. It floored me, like legitimately floored me first listen to this album.
That's such a beautiful song. I'm gonna go with "Shake It Off," though. I
Heard
love
that?
sassy Mariah Carey.
I like it. A little shake it off.
Yes, and so now this is our second album in our 2005 series, and we did put a poll up, but there was a tie. So we're figuring out how to break that tie. Follow our social media to help us break the poll tie that we have. But we're going to take a brief break because we got a new release coming out. It's a returning artist, but she's coming out with a really ambitious project that's going to have a visual component to it. That's not out yet, but the music will be out as of we're recording this the next day. Not when you hear this, it'll already be out. But we're very curious to see what this person does because she's always got something new up her sleeve. It's Miley Cyrus and her new release, Something Beautiful. Really looking forward to diving into this one. It sounds like it's going to be a wild ride and maybe a bit more ambitious than her previous album, even though we enjoyed that one as well. But she doesn't repeat herself, Miley Cyrus, and that's part of what makes her so much fun to look into because she's gone in so many different directions since her Disney days. So I'm always keeping my eyes peeled at what she's doing because of that, because she's just had such a fascinating career that I'm interested in talking more about next week as she starts this new chapter.
Yeah, one of our favorites to talk about, but rightfully so. It just there's always something new with her. I enjoyed her last run at the visuals with the Disney Plus. I guess sidecar to her album, but I there's never a dull moment. I say that with much respect because I've followed her since the get-go. I'm excited to see the next chapter. There's always exciting there's always a great anticipation to see what the next chapter for good old Miley is.
I completely agree. I'm really looking forward to it. So yes, follow us where you're listening. Leave us a nice rating and review. That would be much appreciated. And follow us on social media, especially if you want us to break our tie, because it's eating away at me what we're going to do next after Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, man. Hashtag break the tie.
Break the tie, please.
Yeah.
What we need you to do. All right. But yes, it will not be the end of the world because you're going to get to listen to our next episode. So, till next time, folks.
Peace.